morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Easter, Merry Christmas, and happy Hanukkah, and whatever else may be coming your way. On this tutorial, I'm just going to show you basically the setup that you're going to want to start out with if you download Blender. Now I'm running 2.76 beta, or B, not beta, but anyway. Newest one is 2.79. When you download it, it comes with its own preset defaults, and you're going to probably want to tweak it a little bit more to your liking. So we're going to get rid of this splash screen. I'm going to leave that prim there, that block. I'm not going to worry about it. So the first thing we're going to do, just hit the escape key to get rid of that splash screen. We're going to come here to File, and then down here to User Preferences, or you can hit Control Alt plus U. Now I'm going to take you through all these tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tabs. But let me just enlarge this so everybody can see it clearly. We're going to go through all these tabs, and remember, you can tweak this however you want, but I'm just going to get you the basic setup because, excuse me, I'm sorry, if you have, cancel that for a second, your workspace here, if it's cluttered, if it's, you got to have a good workspace that you feel comfortable in order to build correctly. Otherwise, it's just going to add to frustration, especially if you're new. So we're going to go back to User Preferences, and the first thing I want to deal with is the interface. Now this depends on whether you're using a laptop or a desktop, and whether or not your laptop has the numeric keypad, and your mouse, whether it's a quarter mouse, wireless mouse. Is it a 3 button or is it a 2 button? So these are the things that you need to keep in mind when setting this up. Basically, we're going to leave everything pretty much checked. That's up here. Where is it at? Smooth view, manipulator. Yeah, I pretty much left everything pretty much by default. You can double check this if you want to. A lot of people like this zoom to mouse position, and some people prefer the rotate around selection. This comes in handy when, let's say for example, let me uncheck that. Say on this cube right here, and it rotates and it locks in. Whereas sometimes if you get to working there, and then next thing you know, you go to zoom because your thing is off, and next thing you know, you're zooming way out here and you're having to pan yourself back in and everything. It can get kind of frustrating. So I'm gonna put this right back there just for now. Let's see, Shift S and cursor to center. Shift S puts that cursor back to center. Shift S as in Sam. So anyway, getting back into user preferences. I pretty much just left this as it is. You can tweak this as you want. Your size, your brightness, minimum grid spacing is 35 pixels, etc., etc. Set that however you like. Your manipulator is your rotation. Next one is the editing. Okay, global undo. You do want to put a check mark in there if you do not. This enter edit mode right here, if you drop a new object to automatically go in. I personally do not do it, simply because you can scale and adjust in object mode, and it acts differently, a little bit differently than if you were to scale or rotate in world mode, or edit mode. So global undo steps 32. That's my default. That's what I have it set to. You can either increase by clicking on these arrows here, or you can type in a number. Say I want to click here and type in 64 and enter on your numeric keypad. And that's up to 64 steps it'll keep in memory. Now the thing to keep in mind is the higher the number of steps, the more memory it's going to use, the slower your computer will respond. Me personally, I just keep it at 32. That's plenty for me to do. Memory limit, not going to worry about. You're not going to worry about negative frames or anything. All these XYZ to RGB, to leave that like that. Over here you got mesh, surface, curve, text, metaball, armature, lamp, and action. I have all those checked. Now you can do material, texture, particle, so on if you want to. Under transform you have confirm, release. I don't use it. When I'm done I just click. Same thing, I don't have any of these checked, and these should be the default. It should be. Now don't click save user settings yet. We're going to continue on. Input. Now here, this first one, mouse. Emulate 3-button mouse. If your mouse only has a 2-button, then you're going to want to click and activate that. Okay, same thing right here, emulate keypad. If you're on, say, a laptop and it does not have the numeric keypad to the side, you're going to enable that. What that does is that enables the keys, the numbers up above your keyboard to work as if it was a numeric keypad. Okay, so if you do not have a numeric keypad, then go ahead and put a check mark, and then the numbers that are above your QWERTY keys, your keyboard there, those will work instead. If you do not have that checked, then they will not work. I do have continuous grab checked. Orbit style is turntable. Zoom is going to be vertical. The rest of this I pretty much didn't mess with. You just have this NDOF, set it to fine. And I have a trackball, but see, I don't use this, so, but this is just what I have it set to. Okay, before we get to add-ons, I'll come back to that. Let's go to themes. I'll come back to add-ons last. Themes. This is where you set all the color of your text, your grid, everything else. Like, for example, if you see my mouse, I have the numbers right here, 8, showing that it's active. Highlight, that's in blue. Okay, you can change all this however you want to you know, set colors into it. You got regular tools, radio buttons, your text, more text options, number field, value slider, text selected, I have shaded, text selected, shaded. Pull down menus, you know, you got different ones. You can actually do the outline, the item itself, enter, and enter selected. This is where you set everything at on however you want to do it. You can come in and tweak this all you want. I would suggest leaving the axis colors the way they are, red, green, and blue, so that if you're looking at somebody else and they're giving you a tutorial and they say, okay, we're going to go along the red axis, or you're going to know that that's the X. So X is red, Y is green, and Z is blue. I haven't really messed with this too much. I didn't see any need to. I mean, I have gone through and done some of this, but I actually had all the grids, you know, a different color. You can actually shade them down, turn them up, you know, brighter, dimmer, so on. But this is where you'll do a lot of your tweaking at that fits your style. File, relative paths, load UI, filter file extensions, and hide dot file data blocks. I have those 4 checked up here. Save preview images, auto save temporary images. You can set the timer for how long. This one just by default 2 minutes. And tab as spaces. Now outside of that, we're not going to worry about run Python. That's for if you're really advanced. One of the things you're going to want to do is right here, temporary. By default, this is where all your temporary files will be located at. You can click on this right here, open a directory, and put it in there if you want to change it. The other thing that you're going to want to look at is this image editor right there. Your image editor is what you're going to use when you want to directly import and export textures to your favorite photo editing program, be it GIMP, Photoshop, Paint, or whatever you may use, Maya. And the way you would do that is you would click right here. We're going to click right here, maximize this window, and then you just go to wherever your program is. And for me, I know it's under, let me just cancel that for a second. Now close this. Here's my GIMP. Open file location, and I know it's right here under GIMP bin. So now going back into it, you would just come back up. Let me open this back up. Click here. Let's see, where did I say that was? Yeah, right here. And GIMP 2.8, which is what I'm using. And then you click accept, which I'm not going to because I've already done that, but you would click accept, and you would see that wrote in right here. So instead of having to, you know, minimize your desktop, go to your favorite editing program, bringing it up, copying everything over, pasting into there, or creating a new, or copying from clipboard, pasting into, etc., etc. This is a one-stop shop, basically. And I forget where that, I have to think of where this is actually in Blender, but it'll take it right straight to your program, and you can import it right straight back with no problem. System, Minimat GPU, Minimat 16-bit, text anti-aliasing. There's not a whole lot of stuff that I've messed with in here. I didn't feel any need to, but you can if you wish to float with it. This is your sound if you want, if you're going to get into sound. A lot of this is really advanced. Alright, now to this one, the add-ons. I use a lot of add-ons and hotkeys that some come with the program, some do not. Excuse me. So like, if you see this little symbol right here, for example, 3D Math, this console, you see this little symbol right here, it means it's already included, I believe, and you just check. No, it's not. It's these right here. That means they're, what was that? I forget what that is. I'll take that back. I'm saying correctly. Anyway, 3D navigation. Just put a check mark in that box right there. You see how it turned white? That's going to put these things here on the side, which it should. Then also you're going to want add mesh extra objects. Put a check mark in there. We're going to keep scrolling down. Now, yeah, these come with the program by default. So the import, export, Autodesk, 3ds. I don't use Autodesk anymore, but I used to. That's why I have it enabled. If you want to do gestures for like Second Life or something, then you're going to want to use the BioVision motion capture if you have that program, which I don't. Now when you see exclamation points like this, that means there's an error. There's something wrong with it. It's not really wanting to work right with this AutoCAD, which is what I actually first started on. Shit, back in the 80s, I started out on AutoCAD. Coming down, FBX format. I'm really not sure what that is, but it's enabled. Some of this is enabled by default. There's some more issues with some of these. Keep scrolling down. All of these here are pretty much come with the program. They're enabled by default. Now here's where you want to add some more. Mesh loop tools. You will want that. If not, you're not going to be able to do loop cuts and etc. So you're going to want to enable mesh loop tools, which is about 3/4 of the way down. Mesh relax and node wrangler, and I'll do a video later on what nodes are. That's, you know, dealing with graphics. Scroll down and cycle render. You're going to want to check in that. And use cycles pretty much when you're going to be using the nodes. Lastly, way down at the bottom, or wherever it is on yours, user interface pie menu official. So you're going to want the pie menu and put a check mark in there. Once you're done, we're going to click one time on the save user settings. Okay, it clicked. It doesn't look like anything happened, but it did. Now we'll click on this X. Alright, the next thing we want to go to is on this tab, the third one. It looks like little, I don't know, thingamajiggers. You got your camera, and you got your scene. or whatever this is, render layer, and the third one over. Right here, under units, you got none, metric, and imperial. You can set it to degrees or radians as well. I'm going to set mine, which I thought I had it set, apparently I didn't, to metric and degrees, dealing with curves on a scale of 1.0. That means for every meter, it's going to be 1 meter. It's not going to be doubled up. So you're going to want to put a check mark or set that to metric, or if you want to work with none or imperial, it's up to you. But this is what I work with right here. Okay, once you're done with all that, we're going to come up here to File and Save Startup File. You see that? Control U, Save Startup File. It'll ask you to confirm. If you take your mouse away, it'll disappear. You have to come back up and do it again. You also going to want to make sure that your screen is in full screen mode before you do that. Otherwise, every time you open it, it'll be whatever window mode you have it. So we're going to come, save startup file, and yes. Now every time you log in to your computer here, your Blender, you'll end up basically with this screen right here with everything saved. Of course, you got your splash screen. I really need to put this back to here, and then I want to save mine, so I'm going to put mine back to the camera, which is the main one, and resave the startup file there. So that's basically it. Now I'm going to show a little bit about working within your windows. Okay, I was talking about cycles. If you come here, you got Blender Render, Blender Game, which deals differently, and then you got cycles render. When you're dealing with nodes, you're going to want to work in cycles, but as a beginner, just go ahead and stay in Blender Render. You got your default settings. You can change these. You can add in more, and so on. I usually just leave it right like it is. Same thing here, scene, which shows you everything that's going on, and that's all I leave it as. Down here's your object. You know, you can go and edit, sculpt, vertex, etc. Instead of clicking here, now that you've enabled that pie, you can hit the tab key. Hitting the tab key, you see how much easier it is? Object, go straight over and hit edit mode or 6, and you can go right in and hit tab. You can actually hit tab and over. Let's see if I can do it real quick. Come right straight over, boom, it goes over. Sometimes it'll do it. Over here is where translate, rotate, scale. These are your manipulators down here, dealing with your transform, your rotation, and your scale. You don't have to actually click on each of these to make them work. But that's these. Whenever you enter a prim in, let's say for example, let me hit X to delete that cube. I'm going to hit Shift plus A, which is the same thing as coming down here to add. Shift plus A. Now let's just add a mesh. We'll add a mesh cylinder. Boom. You'll notice that right over here, you get a bunch of values and stuff. The moment you do anything in here, this will disappear and you'll never be able to change it. So like right now, the vertices, this is 16. You can actually change this if you want to. You can actually increase it to 64 if you want more. See how it gives it a bit of a smoother shape. Or you can decrease it to 16, which was half of 32, to give you more rough. Your radius, your depth. N-gon, cap fill. Now this is the thing dealing with especially cylinders. You got a triangle, N-gon, or nothing. Depending on what you're doing, you want that open or close. So if, for example, you're making a circle with a cylinder, and you're going to want that open because you're not going to see the face anyway, so why complicate and add more faces to your build when you're not going to see it anyway. N-gon is closed on both sides, And the reason it's still there is I'm just camming around. I haven't done anything. Triangle fan, remember with Second Life, triangles is bad. You want to try to keep them as quads. Location, you can actually offset it here with your X, Y, and Z. X is red, Y is green, and Z is your up and down. You can set your rotation manually. Now, the moment you go to do something, let's say I go S for scale, and I scale it, notice it changes. It has now changed. So you will never be able to go back in there and recorrect. Even if you hit Control Z for undo, you still cannot get back in there. So if you didn't do it well when you needed to, I mean when you first put it out, you will have to delete it and start over. Then we got other things like create, which is basically the same thing as just hit Shift A and you got the same things here. I don't find any reason to have to use anything there. Rotate, same thing. Animations, if you're into animations, the grease pencil can come in nice because you can actually draw and whoops, there we go. Oops, I gotta be in edit mode, I think. Draw or continuous, and I won't put check in that continuous. So I can go draw, and I can just draw on here with the grease pencil and just kind of giving an example of something, and you click over here again and it takes it away. And you have an eraser here so that you can just kind of erase back over it. It's not going to matter, it's not going to show up in your build at all in Second Life. And click over here and it erases it. Now that I do use from time to time, especially when trying to show something here. Kind of like a protractor. If you want to see something, you don't have to. Hit escape and get back out of here. Shift S, cursor to center because I left clicked. 3D print, which I don't use 3D printing relation, and navigation. Navigation, there's really no point in this because there's other ways of navigating. So I just leave it right here in tools. This is where I'll do most of my working, and then that loop tools that we enabled is right here as a history, etc. So this is basically your layout. Now, one of the things you might want to do, let's skip back over to edit mode. You got one window. Okay, so starting on 1 is the front. Again, remember, we're working in ortho. 1 is front, 3 is right side, 7 is your top, and the number 5, of course, changes between perspective and ortho. Now, what if you want to look on the left or the back or the bottom? You simply hold down the shift key while hidden. So right now we're in top, which is number 7. Hold down the shift key and tap the 7 again, and we should go to bottom. Why is it not working? Okay, that's the back. Holding shift 1. Shift 3 is left, and shift 7 is the bottom. So you can't really tell because there's same thing either way you look at it. But if I was to stretch this out and add some other things in, you would see. So let's say you want another window. Well, you can just drag open by clicking on here and dragging. T, whatever window your mouse is in, is where it's going to take effect at. So you can actually hide the toolbar here if you wanted to. Hit it, it comes back. Same thing with N, which we'll get more into detail on later. N, as in Nancy, to hide these. And it simply makes a little more room. And if you wanted to go to a 4D and drag your own, you could actually just drag these down and drag this one down, and now you're in a quad view, and you can set each one of these as you want to. I come to view, so this one is front. We'll say this one will be right, and we'll come down. View here, what did I say, right, we'll say back, and we'll just say, what's wrong one, we'll just say bottom. So it shows you on there which view you're actually looking at. It's all up to you on whether you want to or not. To get rid of these, you put your mouse over the line. You see how it comes up with a double arrow. Right click, go down to join area, and left click on whichever. You see there's an arrow that shows up. That's going to show you which way it's going to join to. Same thing here, join here, and again here, join area, and boom. Now you can also come up here and change all this if you wanted to. But again, I like doing it my way. You do whatever is comfortable for you. X to delete, and that's it. So basically, I just wanted to give you a quick run. We're going to be doing a lot of work in this area here. You can left click and drag to make it bigger and smaller if you want to. Same thing down here on the bottom. Right here, where you're supposed to. There we go. If you wanted to. This down here I don't do a whole lot with. This is for filming. I pretty much just leave this set as it is. You will work with textures and so on. Up here, let's say real quickly, there's my lamp, and you got something up in there. Here, let me just do it this way. Shift A, add a mesh, we'll just call it a cube. Okay, see how it highlights? You can right click and rename it to say cube 001 or whatever you wanted to call it, so that you don't end up with a bunch of same things up in there. This here is the hide. There's also a hotkey for that. So this may be one of the things that you want to do. Say you got a bunch of stuff right there, but it's all up in the way and you kind of want to hide it. So like, I want to get this lamp, I want to hide it, this camera, I want to hide it so it's out of my way, it's out of my face, and now I can get up in here and work without having to deal with that. This is what you click on, these eyes. We're going to deal some with cubes. Object constraints. You will eventually get into object constraints, which I use that. Modifiers. You'll learn a lot about modifiers, booleans, simple deforms, mirror, edge split. I mean, you'll use a lot of these. You're going to go with your material, your texture. This one here is your light source, so you can change it if you want to. But we'll get into all that later. Just kind of giving you a layout or an idea of what's going on your screen. Down here, these are different layers. And this is what I use all the time. I build in different layers, and then I'll probably bring it all back over and when I'm done. So that's enough for this video. If you have any questions, just pause it and watch it again, or you just leave me a message or catch me online. We'll talk to you later.